5, which I know is out of chapter 8, but it directly relates to what we're doing. So we're going to go ahead and put it in with this section, okay? All right, in 9.5, we're going to be working on what's called the quadratic formula. Now, it looks big, bad, and scary right at first. All right, up. This is everything I'm going to say, Thomas. It looks scary at first. However, once you start working it, it's really not that bad, okay? Now, any comments you have to say about it, I don't want to hear it. Keep it internal, keep it inside. I don't want to hear about it today, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to take some good notes, write some stuff down. I want you to give me a few problems to show you how to work through it first, okay? And then, if we've got an issue, you talk, all right? But you're not going to sit and start whining right off the bat because it looks scary, all right? That's not what we're going to do today, okay? All right, so quadratic function. Anybody know the quadratic function? You have already been taught it. This will be the 3rd time this year we have seen it.
Are you serious?
I am really serious.
I don't know what it's
No, it's not x equals.
X plus B.
There's an A in it.
A plus
A
B
plus C equals.
No.
A
X
squared
plus
plus
B. Ax plus.
Well, we're getting closer. All right. Okay, so function. Keep in mind, function is a fancy term for equation. All right. Function is just a fancy way of saying equation. Okay. So y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay. This is something we have looked at. I just gave you ax squared plus bx plus c. We have seen this before. Okay. And we've talked about that a, b, and c are just numbers. Okay? So A, B, and C are numbers. If you need to write that down, write that down. So what we're going to do now is talk about quadratic function, or quadratic equation here, and that's where this y equals shows up at now, because now we're looking at equations. Okay? All right. So we're going to talk about the quadratic formula. When we're talking about the quadratic formula, the reason we would use this is when we have a prime factoring problem. So an example real quick over here. If I have got x squared plus 5x plus 4, all right? If I have that, what are factors of 4 that gives 5?
4.
Okay, so we would have x plus 1 and x plus 4. You guys said 1 times 4, right? Okay, so what happens when I had x squared plus 7x plus 1? Are we going to come up with factors of 1 that get us 7? No. So 1 times 1. So we put prime, right? That's what we put on the last test when we were working on just the factoring before we introduced equations, okay? Is we would put prime. So what the quadratic formula does is it's going to give you an answer to the things that weren't factorable, okay? So when I told you that all equations have an answer, they do. Sometimes it's a no solution, but they all have answers, even the ones that aren't factorable. They have answers too. Okay, a lot of them will be crossing at 2 spots on the x-axis, and we'll take a look at the picture starting next week, okay? But a lot of them will be crossing at 2 points. They have answers too, okay? All right, so when we come over here, we look at the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula, the reason we have it is to find solutions to prime quadratic functions. Okay, that's why we have it. Now, can I use the quadratic formula for any problem? Yes. It does not have to be unfactorable, all right? So just because we have something that's prime or unfactorable doesn't mean we can always use the quadratic formula for anything, okay? And I always tell my students, especially before the big testing, if you have an x squared in a problem and you're in doubt on what to do on a problem, use the quadratic formula. Use this guy, all right? So when in doubt and you don't know what to do on SAT, PSAT, all the kind of the bigger tests, when in doubt, try the quadratic formula and see if that'll work out for you, okay? It will work for anything with a squared in it. Anything with a squared, it will give you an answer. Even factorable problems. It doesn't matter. Factor, unfactorable, it works for everything. Okay? Because you're going to see how long it takes and you're going to understand why we factor. Alright? Factoring is much quicker and easier, especially on a problem like that. Alright? Versus what I'm going to show you. But what I'm going to show you works for everything. Okay? So if all else fails and you can't do the problem, you can do this. Okay? Alright, so here we go, x equals, okay, negative b, and when I say negative b, I'm gonna be, verbally when I talk to you guys about it, I'm gonna say opposite. Okay, so we're gonna say the opposite of b is how we're gonna say that, okay? So the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root, that plus or minus, that's where our two answers are gonna come from, okay? B squared minus 4 times a times c. All over 2a. Okay, just write that down. Now, I'm not gonna require you to memorize this, but you gotta know how to work it. I'm gonna have this right on the test for you, alright? I'll be right there at the top. All you've gotta do is be able to plug in numbers, okay? Alright, so let's look at an example here. Okay, so on number 1, someone give me number 1, I don't have it up here.
X squared minus 3x plus 2 equals A.
Okay. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we got to figure out A, B, and C, because if we don't know what the letters are, it doesn't do us any good. So A, what's your A number here? Remember, it's numbers.
X squared.
Not x squared, it's
2.
numbers.
3.
1.
Oh, stop yelling stuff out, guys. What's in front of this x squared? 1. So A equals 1. I understand you said it, but there's a lot of people saying the wrong thing. Okay? Alright, B. What is B?
Negative 3x.
No, no variables.
So, never be 3.
Negative 3. No, guys, there's no variables in this. Okay? And C will be 2. Okay, so A, B, and C. Alright, we are literally just pointing out the numbers. A 1 in front, a negative 3, and a 2. That's all we're doing. Okay? Alright, so now x equals, now we're going to start our formula. Okay? Okay, so the first part says opposite of B. Opposite of B. So what's the opposite of my B value?
3.
Positive 3, right? So 3 plus or minus square root. Okay, then what's the next part say over there?
B squared.
B squared.
Negative 3 squared.
That's right. Now I'm going to put parentheses around the negative 3. Okay, we need to square all the parts of that. Okay, so put parentheses around that negative 3. When you put it in your calculator, you need parentheses. All right? Minus 4. What's the next letter?
2.
A. So A is 1. What's the next letter? Letter is C, which is 2. Okay. Divided by 2 times 1. Very good, guys. Okay, so all I did so far was plug in A, B, and C. That's all I've done. Okay. Now, you are going to work the inside of your square root first. This guy right here has to happen first. Right there. Okay? Now, real quickly, if you have anything squared, what do I know is true about this first number no matter what? Think about it. If I have negative 3 times negative 3 squared, what do we get? A positive 9. What if I have 3 times 3? Positive 9. It's always positive. Alright? So when you square this, you had better always get a positive number out. Always. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and kind of start rewriting, and we're going to work that inside. I'm going to keep the 3 on the outside there. And at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and just call that 2. Alright, 2 times 1 or 2. Alright, so in my square root, negative 3 squared, you guys already told me was 9. Now, the next part here, work this guy next. Keep that negative with that 4. Okay, keep the negative with the 4. So what is negative 4 times 1 times 2? Good, negative 8. So I have 9 minus 8. Everybody good so far?
Okay.
Okay, so now we keep working on the inside. We haven't got an answer yet. So 9 minus 8 is?
1.
Okay, so I have x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 1 over 2. So work the square root first. Okay, now what's the square root of 1? 1. Okay, so we know that x equals 3 plus or minus 1 over 2. Alright, now this is where we're going to break this up into our positive problem and our negative problem. We have a plus minus in the middle, which means we got 2 answers. Alright, so the first one is 3 plus 1 divided by 2. And the next one is 3 minus 1 divided by 2. Okay? Alright, so let's work the first one. 3 plus 1 is?
4.
Divided by 2? 2. So I have an x equals 2. Alright, 3 minus 1 2 divided by 2,
One.
should get 1. So those are my two answers, 2 and 1,
Okay.
okay?
That's not hard.
Well, that's longer.
It's long, but it's like I said, the more you practice it, the faster you'll get at it. It won't be as big a deal as you guys think, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at number 2. So we got 16x squared minus 8x equals negative 1. All right, same rules apply. We still have to get it set equal to 0 first. Has to happen, okay? Still have to get it set equal to 0. So how am I gonna make that happen? Add the 1. Good, guys. So we've got 16x squared minus 8x plus 1 equals 0. Okay? All right, Keelan, can you tell me what A equals here?
Negative 16. Oh, 16.
To 16. Good. All right, B. Francie, what's B equal?
-8.
Good. Jimmy, what's C equal?
1.
Very good. Everybody okay with A, B, and C? Okay, so now we're going to start our formula. X equals, now we start with the first one. It says negative B, or remember the opposite of B. Okay, so what's the opposite
8.
of negative 8? Good, Chase says 8. Plus or minus. Okay, this next part says B squared. So I'm going to have negative 8 squared minus 4 times A, what's my A value?
16.
Good. Times C, what's my C value?
1,
Alright, all over,
2,
dot,
16.
2 times
16.
16, good, 2 times 16, 2A, 2 times 16, okay? Alright, so X equals, alright, again, work in the inside, right? That's where we're starting, work the inside. So 8 plus or minus, okay, start your square root, so what's negative 8 squared?
64.
64, good guys. Alright, now I have negative 4 times 16 times 1.
Negative 64.
Good, negative 64. Okay, all over. And I'm going to go ahead and take 2 times 16, and what do we get there? 32, good. Okay, so now what happens inside my square root on this problem?
0.
That's right, it goes to a 0. So if you want to put square root of 0, you can do that if you want, since you know it goes to 0. But the square root of 0 is just going to be 0. So if you want to skip that step and just say 8 over 32, I'm okay with that as well. Alright, so now 832, what's that reduced to?
1/4.
1/4. Okay, and that's going to be your answer in this case. So if that's 0, if you get a 0 in here, you're actually going to end up with one answer because there's not going to be any more plus or minus attached to it. So you only get one answer on that one. Okay, let's see where you're doing okay? You're okay?
Yeah, I don't know why I put 16 on the outside.
Alright, I want you to take a second, and number 3, I want you just to set it up. Alright, so let's try